All right, first up, let's put the spotlight on the food tech space. What's on the menu when it comes to these companies? What are the next big trends? Because the year 2023 has undoubtedly been an eventful one for the food tech industry. Swiggy and Zomato, they undoubtedly are the largest players in this space. They've performed quite well. Both have made profits, shown strong growth. What does the year ahead bring forth? We've got Akshaye Jalan, who's the founder and CEO at Xume, now joining in. Akshaye, thanks so much for being with us. So how would you really characterize the year gone by for the food tech industry, given that we have seen a lot of these companies and the listed players really focusing on profitability?
I think food tech is definitely hot right now. It's not only trending from a valuation perspective, but I think it's trending from a real business perspective. And I think there are three factors predominantly driving that, right? One is increasing digital penetration. The second is convenience-led consumption, instant gratification. And the third is India being arguably, well, or possibly not arguably, the fastest growing economy, all of which is leading towards tremendous opportunities in this space. And I think food delivery and food technology is at the forefront of that revolution.
So given that we have the two largest players, Zomato as well as Swiggy, which dominate this space, I just want to understand your outlook. Do you think that they will continue to remain the key players and that it's very difficult for a new entrant to make its mark?
It's a tough one, right? Whenever you have a capex heavy industry where you have two players who are dominating, it's tough to achieve the scale that they have. There are going to be disruptions when it comes to specific niches within the overall sector, but I don't see anyone challenging the duopoly that Swiggy and Zomato have, purely because they A, have the size, and now B, what's been heartening for me as a food tech founder is the fact that they are miring into profitability. Whenever you have a company looking at profitability and business, the art of dhanda as opposed to the art of customer acquisition, you know that they've hit an inflection point and they're focusing on the right things. And I think that's what we're seeing with both Zomato and Swiggy. I mean, the case in point being them hiking the platform fee from 2 to 4 rupees, in Zomato's case, 100% increase, right? And a 50% increase from 2 to 3 rupees in Swiggy's case. And that augurs well for just the food tech industry in large.
We've seen Zomato as well mark its first ever profit in the year gone by. Do you think that this spells out a lot more confidence for other tech players?
100%, right? I mean, you have two opportunities as a founder. One is to create a business model and prove that business model works, or the other is to acquire customers, build a disruptive business from the ground up, scale it, and then focus on profitability. And I think, with now, we're seeing with both Zomato and Swiggy, they're focusing on the latter, right? And with them now achieving a degree of profitability, that's not a one-off instance. I mean, now Zomato marked its second consecutive quarter, and the numbers are quite heartening, right? What was exciting to see was the GOV grew 47% year on year and 25% year on year if you exclude the quick commerce, which clearly indicates that there are more people transacting, there are more people reordering, and that just shows that that there's future here. Also, if you look at all the industry trends, I have 3 reports that I was reading recently. IMARC is talking about the food delivery industry or a sector increasing at a 24% CAGR to 260 billion from about 37 billion by 2032. Statista, was talking about the lack of penetration in India. It's about 20% compared to a 65% in the US. Macquarie basically came up with a report that said that the monthly users in China are about 350 million versus a 17 million in India as of 2022. So it's clearly showing a massive opportunity. And with these two incumbents paving the way for both profitability and converting users with the idea that food tech is here to stay and habituating consumers towards food technology, I think it's fabulous for the entire industry at large.
And no doubt, Akshay, the macroeconomic conditions as well have been quite tough. The funding slowdown is very evident. Do you think that profitability will now be a top priority for startups across sectors?
So you're absolutely right about one thing, right? Profitability should be the top priority, and I think it's cyclical, right? You have these phases of euphoria where everyone chases valuation, but at the end of the day, businesses are valued, and valuations themselves are based on profitability and business growth. And it's inevitable that sooner or later companies focus on creating models that actually work. And I think this is no different here. But the fact that you have two large behemoths of this sector performing well is indicative of what's to come. And I feel the funding winter, is a manifestation of a shift now. And I think because more and more businesses are going to be focusing on profitability, funds will chase those businesses, and those businesses who have focused on building a model will see a good future and will see continued opportunity to both grow and seek investors and also attract the right consumption base.
Swiggy, of course, that's the listing that we're looking forward to this year, but it has been delayed. So what kind of a messaging do you think that's sending out?
I think it's a sign of them tweaking and trying to time it correctly. I think it's also a sign of them looking at their business model very closely and comparing it with the incumbent in question and trying to assess and evaluate where they are with the whole process and seeing how they can maximize their IPO. I think it's a matter of time. So it's a question of, when, not if.
And in order for companies within the food tech space in particular to actually replicate the Zomato Swiggy roadmap successfully, what are some of the factors you think they need to focus on?
I think what's going to happen is, within the larger framework of consumption, there are going to be micro pockets. I mean, let's look at the trends that food service or food in general is focusing on, right? You have a massive number of millennials, right? Some reports peg it at 450, some reports peg it at 500 million. That generation is looking at instant gratification, i.e. convenience. And with convenience also comes personalization. With personalization also comes health tech. In fact, there are more people today spending money on products that they perceive to be healthier than ever before. The number being thrown around is between 120 to 170 million in the next few years, right? So with all of these trends coming to be, there is going to be diversification. Like I was mentioning earlier, there is going to be companies that come into these niche-based microservices, and either they'll plug into the existing system, like we're trying to do at Xume, or then they'll try and build a business with a small fraction of the overall industry and the consumer base.
Right, and you also have venture capital funding in the food tech sector globally. That data indicates that it has been declining. So how are you looking at the overall funding environment in India, in particular for food tech?
So I think a lot of investors, were chasing value, and were, I think the values were out of whack a little bit. And now with businesses looking at their models, looking at their top and bottom lines, looking at their customer acquisition strategies, and focusing a little bit more on building sustainable business models, I think, investors are also happier because of it. In fact, I met someone recently, an investor, who told me that they put money into a milk-based company down south, something that they'd never done before, purely because they were excited by the market opportunity and the business model that this company had, right? So, it's now become a game of, hey, do I see value? Do I see a business model? Do I see growth? And am I excited about the sector? The answer to the last question is a resounding yes. So the first three are what I think investors are going to look at. And those businesses who have the right team, the right plan, the right strategy, and the right model will not have to worry about funding.
And from customization to premiumization to more convenience, what are some of the big trends, Akshay, that you foresee for the food tech industry in the year ahead?
I think personalization, that's the big one, right? Most people want to know what's right for them. I think we are what we eat, but because we're all different, what we eat, what we consume should also be different. And I think more and more people, especially in the post-COVID era, are more conscientious. And like the Evendis report was mentioning, there are over 170 million Indians that are going to be gaming the game of health if they're not already doing in the next few years, buying products, consuming products that they perceive to be healthier. And we're seeing that trend across FMCG, we're seeing the trend across food service and food tech as well. So I think those companies that are able to offer consumers, products that are right for them or communicate that efficiently and effectively will definitely succeed. I also see a massive trend and a massive shift towards convenience-led anything, right? So, you're seeing a lot of RTE products do fabulously well. You're, now suddenly seeing a shift where people are able to press a button and get deliveries within 10 minutes, food service, within 20 to 30 minutes. I mean, that's a massive change. And obviously, as companies grow and they achieve scale, they're going to want to optimize operations as well. So you're going to see a lot of AI-based models come into play. You're going to find a lot of work happening on the last mile distribution. Drones are being tried out all over the world. You're also getting stuff where 3D printing is now customizing products, solutions, food products for a very specific audience looking for a very specific solution. And I think all of this is exciting because it lends itself again to a completely transformative experience. Another thing that you're seeing in the West that I think is going to come to India very soon is, where brands are going to look at creating experiences for consumers. It's not going to be a transactional, it's not going to be a blanket communication strategy, but it's going to be, hey, this is what our brand stands for. We want to create a bond with you. We want to talk to you. We want to be able to help you understand why our product, our service is actually right for you. And I think, again, that lends itself to tremendous opportunities from a tech perspective.
Thanks for that.